Okay.
All right. With that, so yeah, like I said, I would like to introduce someone who has helped me in the short amount of time that I have known her change my business greatly, like exponentially even. She is the owner of Whiteboard Learning. She teaches you how to easily get referrals from your book of business and grow it with meaningful and impactful clients. These are quality clients that you have in your book of business that maybe you haven't had the time to connect with, or you forgot to connect with them. And going back and starting that relationship over again so that you can ask them for that referral because you've already helped them with what they need, but maybe they have friends, family, or a whole nother network that you could become a part of and be a resource for. So with that short introduction, because I want Denise to take the floor. Denise, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please instill your wisdom upon us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jasmine. I appreciate it. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today. And thank you, Jasmine, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I love talking to business owners about how to help them get more referrals to their business, which when you get more referrals, you make more money. And when you make more money, that creates choices and wonderful things that we can have in our lives. So if somebody asks me what I do, I tell people that I help business owners stop hunting for clients so they can spend more time helping their clients. And when we help our clients, that's where we're really making an impact. That's where we're really making the money in our business. And that's where, again, we can create the lives that we want to create for ourselves and our families. So I thought I would give just a little bit of a background about how I became a referral marketing strategist and how Whiteboard Learning came about. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, so I have a property tax consulting company, and I started that, it'll be 25 years old in June. And when I started my property tax consulting company 25 years ago, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't LinkedIn, there was dial-up internet. So as I was going out as an entrepreneur, I was trying to figure out how I was going to bring business to the door. So I knew how to do property taxes, but I didn't really know how to be a business owner. And it was like, wait a minute, sales, that has to be a part of what I do. I just want to sit here and do what I know how to do. So I figured if I was going to have to be a salesperson, if I was going to have to bring business to the door, if I was going to have to do marketing, I was going to have to find a way that really worked for me. So the advice you got back 25 years ago was get an ad in the yellow pages. Well, that wasn't really appropriate for what I was doing. I couldn't find my client there. They would tell you do a direct mail campaign. Well, okay, but I didn't have a lot of money and I certainly didn't have a list to mail to. So that wasn't working. And then the final third thing was cold call. And cold calling, oh my gosh, I don't know about you all, but the thought of cold calling makes me break out in a sweat. I do not want to cold call. If my business and the food that goes on my table depended upon cold call, I'd be a much thinner person, let me tell you, because I would not be doing cold calls. So a couple of years into my business, someone invited me to a networking group, and Jasmine alluded to the fact we're both in BNI together. I've been in BNI for 22 years now, so it has been a really, really good group for me. But somebody invited me to a BNI group, and I was like, wait a minute, what is this thing called referrals? So networking and referrals were just starting to catch hold 25 years ago. Those were new words to us, right? So it was like, what is this networking referrals thing all about? And I just became obsessed with it. It was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to grow this business. And so I thought, well, if that's how I'm going to do it, I should get really, really, really good at it. So I read books, but there weren't many. I went to classes, but there weren't many. But mostly what I did was I watched the people around me. I watched how they went about doing business, these people that were so good at getting referrals. So I watched what they did. I watched what they didn't do. And over time, I started developing a little bit of a system for my business. So I'm a very strategic, systematized person. I love systems. I love strategy. And strategy is what I teach all of my clients in Whiteboard Learning, because I think that that's so important. So over time, I just started trying this and trying that and trying this and trying that. And I made tons of mistakes and I spent tons of money and lots of time, but it took me a couple of different years, and I created this system that started driving referrals through the door of my business. And when I completely had that system put together and I worked it 100%, the next year I doubled my business with no extra time or money. And we quickly grew to a multiple six-figure business because I was spending more time helping my clients than I was hunting for clients. And so after a few years of that, several of my business friends came to me and said, well, you've had great success here. What do you say, what do you attribute that to? And I told them, it's like, well, I kind of created the system for generating referrals. And they're like, why aren't you sharing that with us? Well, it was just my little business system, it wasn't anything that I thought anybody else would want to know about. And so once I got to thinking about it and talking to several of them, I decided I kind of checked into it and I really thought about it and looked at the system. And it truly was a reproducible system that I could teach to other people on how to do the same thing for their business. So 10 years ago, I started Whiteboard Learning. And that's what I do in Whiteboard Learning is I teach business owners how to create a referral generating system for their business. I have 12-week classes. I work with Jasmine one-on-one. So I do it a couple of different ways, but that's how Whiteboard Learning got started. So I'm a business owner in 2 different areas. I still have the tax business, just like all of you, who's just looking to bring business through the door so that I can help people do what it is that I have a passion around. So I thought I would share with you a little bit about that system today. Obviously, we don't have enough time to go through everything, but I kind of put together the top 5 things in the system. And the one thing that I do want to share with you is I'm working with Jasmine to get referrals from her current clients, but also to get non-client referrals. So the system that I teach is really about non-client referrals. I have a whole different system about client referrals as well. But the main system I teach is about how to get non-client referrals, which when I say that to people, they kind of look at me like, what's a non-client referral? Well, anytime you're talking to, like in this group, you're asking for non-client referrals. You're asking people to go find referrals for you that aren't clients. In B&I groups, when you're out networking at the chamber, you're looking to get non-client referrals. But sometimes we don't delineate the client and the non-client in our heads. So they are 2 different processes and 2 different systems. So my 12-week class is about teaching people how to get non-client referrals, not only non-client referrals, but proactively created. So somebody is not just waited for someone to say, hey, I need this, and it's fallen in my lap. Like, hey, I need a happiness coach. Do you know anyone? That's a reactive referral. We cannot eat on reactive referrals. It's about getting people to actually go out and proactively create referrals for Nicole. And it's also to get them to pre-qualify the referrals before they come to you. Which means if you think about the sales cycle, generally we go from here's a stranger to here's closed business. And we have to do all this selling until we get here, right? When you get a pre-qualified referral, you get introduced at about this level, and then that's all we have to do to close them. Referrals typically close at a 30% higher rate than any other type of business. And that's because people have given testimonials about you. They've asked questions to make sure that you're going to be a good fit for them. So the first step in getting more referrals through the door of your business is to know who you help and how you help them. And I'm going to go back to that one and go into that extensively today, because I can't go into everything, but I think that with the group that you're in right now might be the most helpful thing for us to talk about today. The second step is going to be creating your network deep and not wide, which I know you were talking about connections and networking earlier with the gentleman who wrote the book. So it's about, instead of going and meeting a bunch of new people and having to build a relationship with them, what about the people you already have a relationship with? When was the last time you checked in with them? When was the last time you shared with them what you do? When was the last time you asked them what they did and how you could help them? So the second step to building your referral generating system is building your network deep and not wide. The third step is identifying and developing referral partners. People who do business with the same people that you want to do business with, but they're not your competitor. And then the fourth step is networking, but not just any networking. Strategic networking, where you've gone ahead and you've reviewed the network that you had. You have put together your introduction statements. You are ready to go out and strategically network for exactly who you want to talk to. And you want to be exactly where you need to be. So strategic networking, that's the fourth step. And the fifth step is just to get started. So many people tell me how much, if I ask any group of professional business people to raise their hand and say, what do you think about referrals? Do you think that's the best way to get business? Every one of them will put their hands up. But you know what? If I ask the second question, how many of you have put time on your calendar to actually focus on that? Not one hand goes up. And that's because we say we want them, and they are great business, and you do want them, but nobody puts time on their calendar to sit down and really focus on how to get referrals in their business. And it's completely doable. But we're so busy doing, going, meeting. We don't stop, slow down, and put a plan in place to bring those referrals through the door. As with Jasmine is having great success with getting referrals from her current clients, because one of the things she and I were working on was time management and time blocking. And she was the same way. She was faced with 8 or 9 hours a day each morning. And it was, what am I going to do today? And so she was looking for a system that she could time block different parts of her calendar so that she could work in different things. Follow up with the quotes that she's done is one of her time blocks. Follow up with her current customers and clients. Ask them how they're doing, anything that she can help them with, and ask for the referral. And she specifically put a time on her calendar to do that now. In the last 2 weeks, she's gotten 6 referrals. So the fifth step is you have to start. You have to quit saying you want referrals, and you have to start getting committed to getting referrals. So those are the 5 basic steps to creating a referral generating system. What I really wanted to dig into today was know who you help and how you help them. So the very first thing when I work with my clients in my 12-week class is we work on what I call your referral mini training. So when it comes to getting referrals, there's a bit of a misconception that it's, why isn't the world sending me referrals? I don't know about you guys, but I have networked my head off. I have passed out a gazillion business cards. I have had hundreds of coffee meetings, excited about all of it, and nothing comes on the other side. And that's why I really started getting really frustrated with my business. It's like, I am doing everything everyone has told me to do, and nothing is coming from it. What is wrong? What is happening? Is it me? Am I not doing the right things? It was that roller coaster. You know, you get excited and they say they're going to help you, and then nothing happens. You're like sitting there hoping that they send you somebody. You're sure they will. They're like, if I hear anybody who knows what or needs what you do, I'm going to send them to you. But they don't. So I worked really hard to figure out why that was. And what I figured out is 90% of getting referrals is on me, 10% is on them. And we think that it's all on them. If we tell them what we do, surely they're going to go out and they're going to find referrals for us, right? So we put it on them, and we don't spend as much time with what we need to put in place in order to ask and get the right referrals. So one of the things that I share with all of my students is the referral mini training. And it consists of 4 different parts. The first one is your target market. The second part is, what's the benefit to your service? What problem do you solve? The third part is, what will your target market be saying, doing, buying, participating in that will let you know that they might be a good referral for me? And the fourth thing is a question to ask to start the conversation. So those are the 4 parts to the mini training. So like in this group today, it sounds like you all do really cool things and very different things, which I think is very interesting. But you told me a lot about the features you have, but you didn't tell me much about the benefit of using your service. So features are for the sales conversation when you're in front of your prospect. The problem you solve is for the referral conversation that's going to help me bring somebody to the door of your business. So I can't sit down to like my brother who's looking to get a new furnace for his house, and he says, "Who do you know?" And can't say, "Well, you want to use this HVAC company because they're going to send you a text with a picture of the person. They're going to put their booties on. They're going to clean up after they get there." What my brother needs is heat. Those features are fantastic, and he might make a decision based on some of those features when he talks to them, but what he needs is heat. So I need to give him someone that I know is going to solve his problem quickly for him. That is the problem they solve. The features, all the other things they're going to do along the way. So the first thing that we start out with is your target market. You need to be as specific as you can possibly be about your target market. And the reason I say that is because first of all, our brain thinks in pictures. And if I can't put a picture in my head of who you're talking about, it's going to go back into my subconscious. We also have something in our brains called the reticular activating system. And we get messages and messages and messages and messages all day long. Oh my gosh, we get commercials and billboards and people talking to us. Our brain would explode if we tried to think about all those things all the time. So we have something that's a filter in our brain called the reticular activating system. And it determines what stays at the front of our consciousness and what goes into our subconscious. And when you're talking about, you're just going on and on and on about your features, and you're saying anybody who wants this, anybody who needs this, no picture appears in my brain. And if I can't get that picture or focus of who that person is, it goes into my subconscious. And I want to help you. It's not that I don't, but there's too many messages during the day. If it doesn't stay in my consciousness, I'm not going to be able to do it. Otherwise, I'd have to put a huge focus on your business. And people don't have time to do that. They're focusing on their own businesses. So you want to come up with a target market that's very specific that I can picture in my brain. So I'll give you an example. I've worked with several real estate agents, and here's one. When you've sat down with real estate agents, real estate agents, a lot of times it's anybody who wants to buy a house, anybody who wants to sell a house, anybody who's downsizing, anybody. So it's a lot of anybody's, right? So with this particular real estate agent, he's one of my favorite ones to work with. He decided he was going to narrow his target market down to families that are living in apartments. Now that's pretty narrow for a real estate agent, isn't it? Now that does not mean that if I had a referral for somebody that was downsizing and wanted to sell their house, I would still send it to the real estate agent. The real estate agent will still do business with it, but that is his marketing focus. Is your target market, your marketing focus. So he decided his marketing focus was going to be families that live in apartments, families that have children that live in apartments. So what did that bring to him? He became known as the guy who could help families in apartments that wanted a house. Also, families that live in apartments that want a house know a lot of other families that live in apartments that want a house. So it also brought those referrals to him. So you want to be known for something. Oh, you got to go talk to her. You got to go talk to him. That's their specialty. But when he came very clear on this target market, it also led him to the problem that he solved. So the problem that he solved, and when we talk about that, we want to come up with some emotion that is around the problem we solve, because people buy from emotion. Even your largest CEO buys from emotion. And that emotion may be, if I don't do this right, the board's going to fire me. I mean, that could be the emotion. It could be a positive emotion. It could be a negative emotion that people are going to purchase from. But everyone buys from emotion. So we really talked about, what problem do you solve for that family? Why is it important to get them out of that apartment? And he said, I love putting children in their first bedrooms. Now think about that. Ooh, is that emotional? He and I went networking a couple of times to try that out, because you have to try messaging out, right? So he would stand up and he would say, I am Mike. I'm real estate agent. I specialize in working with families that have children that are living in apartments because I love putting children into their first backyards. Maybe not the men, Jim, but all the women in the room went, oh. And I swear after every networking event, he had a line of women. I know somebody. Can you help this person? That's so sweet. I love what you do. But it was his true passion, was putting children in their first backyards. He grew up in Chicago. His father was a janitor, what we would call a property manager now in a building, and he didn't have a backyard. He rode the L to school. He was very passionate about making sure that children had backyards. So his target market, families with children that live in apartments, what was the problem he solved? He helped put them in their first backyards. Now that's something somebody's going to remember when you say that to them, isn't it? So the next thing is, so what should I be looking for, listening for him? So it could be someone who says, we're out of space. We are so cramped in this apartment. We're tired of being in this apartment. We want to get a dog, but we can't get a pet because we're in the apartment. It could be, we really want a house, but we don't think we can get one. Those are all things now I'm going to be listening for him because he told me to listen for them. He said, here's the things you should listen for and look for. And once you find them, ask them this question. Would you like to buy a house? Now, some people live in apartments and they're fine with that, with their kids. They're fine with that. So that's the pre-qualifying part, right? So if they say, oh, we're fine where we are, we're okay. We're not planning on moving. We're not planning on buying a house. Then I'm not going to send them to him, right? So I'm not just sending him massive people that I meet with. You ever had that? People are like, oh, you should talk to this person and this person and this person and this person. And then I have all those conversations and maybe one of them was really somebody that really wanted to talk to me about what I do. So it saves you time because now people are out there pre-qualifying that referral for you. So if they say we're fine, I don't send them to the realtor, right? If they say, well, yeah, we would, but I'm not sure we really qualify for a house. No problem. I'm going to send you to this guy. This is what he specializes in. He's got a mortgage broker that shops you around for a mortgage. He's got a credit repair person that he works with. He's going to work with you to get you where you need to be to buy that house you want. Or maybe they say, yes, we are ready to buy a house. We just haven't pulled the trigger yet. You need to call Mike. That's his specialty, is working with people like you. He loves to put children in their first backyards. But it's up to Mike, the realtor, to teach me and all of you that conversation. And that's where we fall short as business people, is teaching people what to look for, what problems you solve so that you can share that with them. If I said that to somebody, it's like, so you do want to buy a house? Yes. Mike specializes in putting children into their first backyards. They're going to be like, yes, he's my guy. There's not going to be like, well, we're going to interview 5 realtors, then we're going to make a decision. None of that. They're going to say, Mike is my guy because he solves the problem I have. That's his specialty area. So we want to be clear about the target market, because when I say families with children that live in apartments, you start to think in your brain. You can't stop yourself from thinking in your brain, who do I know that lives in an apartment that has kids? So you start to think about who you know. And when you get somebody's brain working that way, and maybe you don't know anybody, but your brain is running through there. When you get somebody's brain working like that on your target market, they're not going to forget you as they go out. They are going to start seeing families that live in apartments all over the place. And they knew them all along, but they never really connected. But now they're going to start seeing them everywhere, and they're going to connect with them. The next thing is you have to have the problem you solve. So what's happening? What are they going to have after they get done working with you? When you're thinking of what problem you solve, that's what you want. What is after they get done working with you? What are they going to have? In this case, they're going to have a backyard for their kids, which is a very burning thing for many parents. So what do they have after they work with you? Then the next thing you want to teach people is what to look for, what to listen for. What are people going to be saying? What will people doing or be doing? Where will people be spending their money? And then the final thing is the question to ask. So it took me a while to figure this out, but this is a huge key because it's a conversation starter. So again, I'm in BNI, so I'm in a networking group like you all are. We get an opportunity to stand up every week and talk about who we want to be introduced to, just like you all get to when you get together, right? And so I hear people say, I'd like to be introduced to this person or this company, or I'm looking for this kind of people. There's never the next step. It's like, okay, what if I find that person? What do I do next? So we had somebody in our BNI group this week, and he's training some new roofing people for his roofing company. And he said, I'm looking for roofs to inspect. So who do you know that I could go and inspect the roof and I could teach these guys what to be looking for, right? That's terrific, but he didn't give me what to say next. So if I say, I've got my next door neighbor and I say, hey, I've got this roofing guy, he's training roofing people and he wants to come and inspect your roof. My neighbor's going to be like, what? I don't really want him on my roof. Because the benefits for the roofer, not for my neighbor. Why would my neighbor do that? So you need to teach people what question to ask, what to say next. Because I don't know how to start that conversation. It could be for him, it could be, have you ever had your roof inspected? Especially since we had that big, that hailstorm a few months ago. No, I haven't had my roof inspected. You know what? I know somebody who could do a free roof inspection for you. Maybe you've got damage up there you don't even know about. Now that is a compelling thing for me to ask people, right? I can't just say I know a roofer and he's training people. Can his people get up on top of your roof? People are going to go, no, I don't want them up there tramping around on my roof. No. But if he taught me to say, you know what? Have you had your roof inspected since we had the hailstorm a few months ago? I've got a roofer. He can come and do a free inspection for you. He's got a couple guys he's training, so he might bring a couple guys with him. He can get up there. He can look at that roof and see if there's any damage up there that you might be able to get fixed. Different. So you want to teach them how to have that next conversation. Because I don't know your business. I don't know how to have that conversation. I'm pretty good at it because I teach people how to do it. But most people, I'm not going to take the time to create your conversation for you. I like you. I want to help you, but I'm busy, just like all of you are. You're running your businesses. I'm not going to do the work for you. You have to give me what I need to make it easy. And if you do that, I'll absolutely do it for you. I'll go knock on my neighbor's door. And I would say that to them. But I'm not going to say, I got a roofing guy that's training guys. Can they get up on your roof? And so he's going to be disappointed. It's going to be, you guys, you didn't give me anybody. That's because you didn't give us what we needed to do that. And that was a huge missing piece that I found as I was going to my BNI group, other BNI groups, other networking groups where you stand up and introduce yourself. So the first one is anybody, everybody. They didn't have a target market. The second one was they tell me all their features, but not their benefit. They don't tell me who to look for and listen for, but I have to know how to start the conversation. So if you can come up with that one question, it's an easy way for me to ask the question to start the conversation. So let me give you another example of a chiropractor that I have worked with. Diet Pepsi is my coffee in the morning, by the way. So a chiropractor that I worked with, a lot of chiropractors, or anybody who has a backache, anybody whose neck is hurting. A long time ago, they used to say anybody who has a spine. Now, how's that going to help me find you somebody, right? Anybody who has a spine? So now their backaches, neck aches, I can help with pain, basically, right? So this chiropractor wanted to find a way that he could stand apart from the other chiropractors. He is an avid golfer himself. And so he decided he wanted to work with golfers. That was his specialty. He already had some golfers that came in, and we're talking about amateur, people who golf on the weekend. So not pros or anything like that, people who golf on the weekend. So he decided that he wanted his target market to be golfers. Doesn't mean he can't help me because I'm his patient, certainly not a golfer. He can still work with anybody else. I've sent my son who has back pain, who's not a golfer, but he really wanted his target market to be golfers. He wanted to be known as a chiropractor who worked with people who golf. So his target market was golfers. Here's the problem he solved. I can help you take strokes off of your golf game. Ooh, think about saying that to a golfer. Isn't that what they're trying to do, right? They may be out there hitting the ball, having fun on the weekends, but they're out there competitive with how many strokes, right? So think about how that hits a golfer. They're like, wait a minute, what? And then he taught people to go out and start listening for things like, oh gosh, the golf courses are getting ready to open right now. And I didn't get out much last year. I'm hoping I can get out more this year. My swing is just not as good as it used to be. All kinds of complaints that the golfers have. So he started teaching them all these things to listen for, right? And then the question he taught them is, who's helping you with that? So if I didn't get out there as much as I used to last year, why not? Well, because, I'm stiff and just not as much fun as it used to be because I can't play as well. Well, who's helping you with that? My swing isn't as good as it used to be. Well, why not? Well, because my shoulder is sore. My shoulder hurts. Oh, well, who's helping you with that? Then they listen. So we have 3 types of people when it comes to when they want to solve a problem. The first one is people that have a problem. They love complaining about it and they're not looking for a solution. We know who those people are, right? Don't send them to people, right? Because they're never going to be happy and they're not going to go. They're not going to go to the chiropractor. They just want to complain about their golf game. So the second one is people that have solved the problem and they still want to complain. We know those people too, right? Don't send them to the chiropractor. But the third people are the people who have a problem and they're truly looking for a solution. Those are the ones that I would send to the chiropractor. There's the pre-qualified again. So I've already pre-qualified that they have the problem I can solve as a chiropractor, and they actually want a solution. So I'm going to wrap up here just a little bit because we're getting close on the 10 o'clock hour. So 5 steps to filling or to creating your referral marketing system. We talked about that today. And then we dug in a little bit deep on the first step, which is who do you help and how do you help them? If you want more referrals, you have to create this yourself. Now, sometimes it's not so easy to create it for your own business. I can tell you that I struggled with my businesses and had to have a little outside perspective and help because we're so close to our own business. It's hard for us sometimes. So that's the reason why in the classes it's kind of fun. We have never have more than 10 people, but we kind of bounce things off of each other. So if you're looking to create this system for yourself, kind of write some things down and then find a couple people that you can bounce it off of and say, what do you think about this? Does this sound like a problem that people in my prospective clients might want solved? How does this sound? Does this feel like emotional to you? So bounce this off of people and then test it. As in all marketing, we need to test. So you have the perfect group right here. So you can work on this. And then when you meet again, you can start testing out these things. Test out your target market first, then test out your statement on how you help people. Then with your things to look for and listen for and the question to ask. Just test it. Try different things. Maybe you'll land on it the first time. Maybe it's going to take a few iterations before you get there. But you can test it with people. So what we ended up talking with was putting together your referral mini training, because remember, 90% of getting referrals is on us and 10% is on them. And we have a tendency to think that it's the opposite way. And then the final thing I'm going to remind you of is if you want referrals, you have to make time to get referrals. You have to put time on your calendar. Maybe it's to work on this. Maybe it's to reconnect with some of those people that you need to connect with that already trust you, like you, want to help you. Share your referral mini training with them. Maybe it's to be looking for a potential referral partner. Maybe it's meeting with that referral partner once you get them. And maybe it's networking, but network strategically. Don't just run around passing out business cards to anybody you meet. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Yes, Nicole?
Sorry. So you mentioned that you have a 12-week program. How is that something you offer at certain times of the year, or how does that work?
Every couple of months, I start a new program. My next one starts April 22nd. What I'd like to do is invite all of you to come into my private Facebook group, which is Roadmap to Unlimited Referrals. Roadmap to Unlimited Referrals. If you type that into the search bar, you're going to come into my private Facebook group. There's about 300 business owners, just like all of you in there. And I'm actually starting a 5-day referral challenge on, it's a week from Monday.
Awesome.
April 11th. So if you come into the Roadmap to Unlimited Referrals group, it's a free 5-day referral challenge. We meet for 45 minutes at 4 o'clock for every day for 5 days. And I'll give you a little referral challenge every day. And then I can talk about the next, I'll talk about the next class and when it starts in that. But if you want to come over to that Roadmap to Unlimited Referrals Facebook group, come on in. And I just posted the information about the 5-day referral challenge in there yesterday. And so you can participate in the referral challenge if you'd like to.
Thank you so much. That is so exciting. And I've been in challenges and they're just so helpful. You all just people that folks that organize the challenges. I mean, your heart and your soul and your passion, if you feel it, and so helpful. I'm so excited. Going to get that on the calendar and make sure get this to our group and other groups. Any other questions that Denise, just so thankful for you.
Thank you.
Great information.
The wheels are spinning, aren't they? After her one short talk, your wheels start spinning in your brain like, wait a minute, I got to go do some of this stuff now. Yep, that's why I thought that it was important to get Denise in here because last month, before we go into April, actually it is March. So March was masterminding, and one of the things that everybody was kind of talking about was the follow-up process and referrals. So I was like, well, just like Denise said, when you think about, you have a resource that you know, ask them to come talk to that group. And I automatically thought Denise would be perfect to help with at least getting an initial idea of how to do a follow-up system or how to get a referral system kind of started. So again, thank you, Denise, for your valuable time. We really appreciate it. Like she said, please, join her Facebook group. You will learn a lot of things. She does videos, and it's just kind of, just those short little videos give you so much to think about in your own business, and even with other business people, when you're talking to them and you're doing one-on-ones. Her ideas, taking them and actually, using those as a way to talk about things that we struggle with as business people will help in the long run. With that, because we have 6 minutes left and I am on a trip, Nicole, so Denise, every meeting, Nicole does our weekly takeaway feel good message. So we are going to have her do that
You
to
are so
end our
sweet.
meeting. So
Well, I'm gonna
Nicole, take it
stop recording. Thank you. I am gonna just stop recording if I can figure out how to stop recording.